What's up, everybody? If we haven't met yet, my name is Will Paxton. I've been playing music for almost 20 years and been recording myself and helping other people record their own music for almost 10 of those years. So today I would like to take a look behind the scenes on my latest release, How Great Thou Art. You know, I really enjoy when other producers and musicians take a deep dive into their own music and their recording process and do an under the hood peek at how they put their songs together. You know, it gives me new ideas and thoughts on creativity, things I can apply to my own music, and I just wanted to supply that in this video. Before we dive in, I wanted to give you kind of the origin of why I'm doing this hymn, and I'll be doing several more like this. So about a year ago, I had an idea what would be a cool gift idea. You know, a lot of people just give material gifts or gift cards or whatever. Being a musician and someone who likes to play music and record music, I thought, you know, why couldn't I give someone the gift of music? So, you know, I've done this before in other formats. You know, I've given my wife, written songs for my wife, you know, written songs for people that were in hard times. So I thought, you know, being in church and all, a lot of people have an affinity for hymns, and so I thought it would be a cool idea to get the favorite hymn and their favorite genre of music or favorite artist and see if I could do a hymn in that style. So I've got a list of hymns from several friends and family members with different genres of music, ranging the whole spectrum from basic CCM to country Americana to heavy metal and maybe even a rap or some sort of gospel style, just cross the whole spectrum. But this particular hymn, How Great Thou Art, in John Mayer flavor, John Mayer, Ariel Posen, Joey Landreth. So it's kind of a soul, bluesy rock vibe. And so over the next year, you'll probably see several more of these videos. I'm planning on doing about 20, maybe 24 different hymns and releasing them as either singles or EPs. So I look forward to that over the next year. So this one is in the key of C. We're doing 6/8 time. It's a simple instrumentation, just drums, bass, guitars, organ, lead vocals, and a big background vocal section. So let's dive into the song. So every time I start a new project, I like to kind of go through and record either an opening riff or something to grab the attention of the listener. And when I sat down to record this, the first thing that I recorded was this riff. And it was intentionally meant to be just a throwaway riff. I was going to let it sit there and then come back later and come up with something more flashy or whatever, but it ended up making the cut. And so here it is. So yeah, just a simple riff, C, couple of suspensions, 1 to 5 kind of deal. So yeah, once I get an initial riff, what I'll do is I'll lay down a scratch track, and I'll go through the entire song, go through all the chord changes, lay out my format. I've got my markers, verse, chorus, verse 2, instrumental, verse 3, and so on and so forth. So I'll play through the entire song, and then after that, what I'll do is I'll hop into Easy Drummer, and come up with a drum groove. So I knew I wanted this to be in 6/8. So we could do something simple. So it was a swing 6/8. Right there. And basically what I'll do is I'll just go through and listen. And find what I think will match the song the best, and just drag it into here. And then once I have a final take in here, I'll take it out and put it in the song itself. And once I've got the entire groove throughout the whole song, what I like to do, this was my process for this song, what I like to do is go in and change fills or edit hits, take hits out that I don't want, take hits out that I don't need, change the cymbals, if anything needs to change. That's how the process I use for this particular song. Lately, what I've been doing is actually just using a MIDI file here and going in and hitting everything in, manually creating the groove, and that seems to work, but it takes a little more time. But I do enjoy making drum grooves. Sometimes I think I could be a drummer if I had a drum kit and a lot of time, but that's not the case right now. Anyways, that was my process for coming up with the drums. So what we'll do now is we'll listen through, and I'll make note of different things in the production. So here's the intro, very simple arrangement, just organ, bass, a guitar up the middle, and a drum groove. So here it is. So yeah, it's just a pedal tone on the bass. So the bass literally just hangs on the 1 and then goes to the 5 when the guitar goes to the 5. And then hopping into the verse, we keep that groove going, add the vocals.
Hey God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands hath made.
And then halfway through the verse, we change from a side stick snare to a full snare. One thing I want to mention, something that comes to mind when I'm producing, I think of an interview between Sting and Rick Beato, where Sting mentions that he switches, I think he says that he changes the song if nothing has changed after 8 bars. And I tend to like that mindset. Like I like for the song to progress, for things to change, even if it's adding one element or changing one element. So throughout this entire song, I feel like I did a pretty good job of changing, through the first verse. The only thing I change in the verse is the snare. And then basically every 8 bars, I either add an element or take an element away, or change a small part just to add interest. And I think that's very valuable material to hold on to as a producer. When you're producing songs, it's very important to want to keep the listener's attention, and one of the best ways to do that, I think, is subtle changes, sometimes really big changes. Definitely a difference between the verses and the choruses. You don't want a carbon copy. You don't want to copy and paste verse 1 to verse 2 and then play the same exact thing, because that's just boring. So we'll continue on through the first verse, and I'll make comments as we go along.
I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe displayed, then sings my soul.
So we have the fill on the drums leading into the chorus. Really cool little tom fill. And then the addition of a tambourine, and we're going stereo on the original guitar.
How great thou art, then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art, and
All right, next thing I want to talk about is transition. So there's a little bit of a transition in the organ. I love doing organ slides. If I've got an organ in a song, through just about any transition, I'm going to have an organ slide, which sounds like this. That was just a little baby organ slide, but I love organ slides. They remind me of a tidal wave. So like if you're going into a big chorus or a big bridge or something like that, you turn a rotary organ on, and then just do a huge organ slide into that first chord, and it's magnanimous. It's beautiful. So for the second verse, we're keeping the stereo guitars playing that original riff from the beginning. Slightly simplified in the beginning half of it. It's just kind of a broken up version of that riff. And then there was something that came to my mind, because this song is meant to be somewhat John Mayer-ish. The song that came to mind instantly that I knew I needed to quote was New Deep by John Mayer on his Heavier Things album. And this is what it sounds like if you haven't heard it. I'm not going to play a lot because I don't want to get any copyright strikes. So I didn't carbon copy quote it, but I did copy the idea, like just the plinky guitar. So when we go into the second verse, we got the transition, and then we got this guitar right here.
I scarce can take it in.
So the first half of the verse has a choppy bass guitar to kind of match the plinkiness of the plinky guitar. And then when you go into the second half of the verse, the bass gets a little more smooth and elongated, as it were. And the plinky guitar actually gets a little busier, does more suspensions and stuff like that. So this is what that verse sounds like from start to finish.
And I think that God, his son not sparing, sent him to die. I scarce can take it in, that on the cross my burden gladly bearing, he bled and died to take away my sin.
So another thing I'd like to mention that I added to the verse. So the first verse and the second verse, drum-wise, is about the same. There's a side stick on the first half on the snare, and then it goes to full snare on the second half. But I also added tambourine hits with the snare. So this is what that sounds like. And on the second half, a full tambourine to match the hi-hat. So they're panned left and right. I believe maybe 50-50 on both sides. So then moving on to the instrumental, we do a stop. So originally when I wrote this, there wasn't a stop. It was actually just played through all the way. But thanks to a community I'm a part of, the Home Studio Corner VIP community, led up by Mr. Joe Gilder, we were doing a critique on this song, and the suggestion came up to put a stop there. And so I'm really glad that that suggestion came up, because I think it adds a lot to the song. So basically, you go from the plinky guitar to the stop straight into the solo, the guitar solo, which I'm going to say is one of my favorites that I've written so far. As a guitarist, I'm pretty proud of this one. I'm not saying that I'm a great guitarist, but I do think that it's a very groovy solo. I enjoy listening to it, and I look forward to writing more and better solos, but I'm definitely proud of this one. And yeah, so starting from the stop, we'll go through the instrumental, and I'll comment on the changes as we get to them. So going into the instrumental is very sparse arrangement, just the drums, bass, and the guitar solo. So it picks up a little bit, and then we add a rhythm guitar at the middle. Also the organ. So this is what it sounds like in full. Also a tambourine. Then going into the next section, it gets a lot bigger, so we add a big background vocal section, which sounds like this. And then two more stereo guitars, which sound like this. So on the right, I have a down-tuned guitar tuned to C standard, and I'm playing an E on that guitar. And on the left side is an arpeggiated guitar. And I want to mention there's a really cool part that was unintentional, but I'm glad that it came out the way it did. There's two notes that harmonize with each other that it's really cool to me how it turned out, and it's at the beginning of each phrase. Those two notes. Anyways, so the instrumental continues. Also, something worth mentioning, the drum switch to a ride cymbal, which opens it up a little bit. And then on the second half, when it gets really big, I'm adding these two guitars playing the same thing as the solo, and they were separate takes, and there are some imperfections in them, but it adds a little bit of a stereo sound to it. They're really low in the mix, but they come out every now and then. They poke their heads out. So then from there, we do a little organ slide and drop down to acoustic guitars and a very sparse electric guitar and the vocal and a low organ. So this is what that sounds like.
I'll come with shout of acclamation and take me home. What joy shall fill my heart? And
then we build, add bass, some drums. The guitar gets a little more busy. The organ gets a little bit louder. The bass hangs out on a pedal tone on the C, and then drops to the 5, the G, where the guitar does. And things start to build a little bit to get ready for the last chorus. So here's what that sounds like.
And I will bow in humble adoration, and there proclaim, my God, how great you are. Then sings my soul.
So another organ slide, one of my favorites, as usual. So this is what it sounds like just between the bass and the guitar, just instrumentally. You'll hear kind of what I'm talking about, a tidal wave of sound. It's just so cool. So from there, we go back to that arpeggiated guitar on the left, a strum guitar in the middle, 2 acoustics left and right, and then that low-tuned C standard guitar on the right playing diamonds. And there's a really cool part in the middle that I will talk about after it happens.
My soul, my Savior, God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior, God, to thee,
So if you caught it, the really cool part.
Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee.
That just screams John Mayer to me. Just really cool. Going into falsetto, we're playing the flat major 3, flat major 7, the 4, and the 1. And the way that came about, I was thinking, man, I really got to make this second chorus pop. I got to do something different. And so I knew that I wanted to go for that note.
Then sings my soul.
So I piddled around on the guitar. I remember where I was. I was sitting on my bed with my acoustic guitar, and I was just playing around. I found the note on the guitar. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but I thought, well, that'll fit in an E flat major chord. And so I played E flat major, B flat major, F, C, and that just came about, and it was one of those aha moments. It was like, wow, that was really cool. I got to do that. I got to figure out how to make that work. And so I think I pulled it off. Really, really fun, really cool. And the bass line does a cool little walk down in that section. So then we hop out into the outro. The background vocals come back in, and they're singing "Great Are You, Lord," harmonizing with the chords. Really fun, really cool. Sounds like this.
Great are you, Lord. Great are you, Lord. Great are you, Lord. Great are you, Lord.
So all together, the entire outro sounds like this. And there's a really cool moment in there I'd like to point out, but I'll point it out after I play through it.
How great is our God? Great are you, Lord. How great is our God?
The first thing I want to point out is there's a cool walk down between the bass and the guitars. So we got this. Here we go. It's really cool how that turned out. And then between the vocal and the lead guitar, there's this really cool moment just after that.
Great are you, Lord. How great is our God?
It's really fun to put together, really fun to produce. I really enjoyed the making of this song, the process of making the song, recording all the parts. It was a pleasure. And so that is How Great Thou Art, in the style of John Mayer. One more thing, a little bit of a bonus concept here. In the third verse, there was a part that I thought about adding in a choir part, because I had choir in other parts of the song. And so I tried something out to fill the third verse, and this is what it was. This is an outtake at this point. Didn't make the cut, but here's how that went.
When Christ shall come with shout of acclamation and take me home, what joy shall fill my heart, and I will bow in humble adoration and there proclaim, my God, how great you are. Then
So obviously it does have some cheesiness to it, and that's why I decided not to put it in the final cut. But I hope you got a kick out of that. Anyways, if you guys enjoy this type of content, please consider liking and subscribing. Like I said, I have about 20 to 24 more songs that I will be releasing in the next year, and I hope to do a video like this for all of them. And hopefully this was at least entertaining, if not inspiring. Maybe inspire you to go and make your own music, or record some music, or just play an instrument. Pick up an instrument and start playing, or if you haven't picked up an instrument in a while, go pick it up and start playing again, because music is fun. And hope you guys enjoy the video, and we'll see you soon.